The weight of silence. The Galactic Assembly Hall stretched across 3 kilometers of polished starstone, a material so ancient that human geologists had no frame of reference for its age. 73 species filled the tiered platforms, each positioned according to their status in the galactic hierarchy. At the summit sat the 5 dominions, the ruling powers who had shaped galactic law for over 2 million years. Ambassador Marcus Chen stood on the petitioner's platform, the lowest point in the chamber. He was 58 years old, with silver threading through his black hair and eyes that had witnessed too many disappointments. For 25 years, he had made this journey. For 25 years, he had presented humanity's case. And for 25 years, he had been denied. The assembly speaker, a towering being called a Nexian with crystalline skin that refracted light into rainbow patterns, raised 4 of its 6 arms. The human delegation requests advancement from provisional status to full membership with voting privileges. Does any dominion wish to address this petition? Supreme Chancellor Thexus rose from the highest throne. The Krillian leader was massive, standing 4 meters tall with skin like burnished copper and eyes that glowed with an inner fire. His species had ruled their corner of the galaxy for 800,000 years. To him, humanity's entire civilization was a brief flicker. "I will address this absurdity," Thexus announced, his voice resonating through translation devices that converted his words into 700 languages simultaneously. The humans return once again, asking for privileges they have not earned. Let us examine their credentials. He gestured, and a holographic display materialized above the assembly. It showed Earth, spinning slowly in the darkness of space. The humans have existed as a technological species for merely 3 centuries. Their individuals live less than 1 century. They are born, they struggle, they reproduce, and they expire before they can accumulate any meaningful wisdom. Laughter rippled through the assembly. Marcus kept his face neutral, though each sound cut deep. "Their planet is a disaster of their own making," Thexus continued. "They poisoned their atmosphere, depleted their resources, and fought wars over imaginary lines and conflicting mythologies. They only achieved basic space travel after nearly destroying themselves with atomic weapons." He leaned forward, his massive frame casting a shadow across the petitioner's platform. "Tell me, Ambassador Chen, why should we grant authority to a species that cannot even manage its own homeworld?" Marcus had prepared for this. He had prepared for 25 years. "Supreme Chancellor, humanity has made mistakes, but we have learned from them. We unified our planet. We eliminated poverty and disease. You did so only after we provided the technology," interrupted Counselor Vexana of the Sardothian Collective, her serpentine body coiling around her platform. "Without our medical advances, your people would still be dying from simple infections. Without our energy systems, you would still be burning fossil remains. You are children playing with tools you do not understand." More laughter. Marcus felt the familiar weight of humiliation settling on his shoulders. "The human petition is denied," the Nexian speaker declared. "Humanity will remain at provisional status for another standard cycle. Ambassador Chen may depart." Marcus bowed, as protocol demanded. He turned and walked the long path toward the exit, his footsteps echoing in the vast chamber. Behind him, the assembly moved on to other matters, already forgetting about humanity. Outside the hall, his aide David Park was waiting. The young man's jaw was clenched with barely contained anger. "Sir, we can't keep accepting this treatment. It's been 25 years. Marcus placed a hand on David's shoulder. "Patience. Everything happens according to plan." "What plan? They just called us children again. They laughed at us." "Yes," Marcus said quietly, looking up at the alien stars that filled this distant sky. "They did. And they will remember that laughter someday." The memory surfaced unbidden, as it always did after these assemblies. 15 years ago, a plague had swept through Earth's Asian sector. The pathogen was alien, accidentally introduced by a trading vessel. Humanity had begged the Council for medical assistance. The cure existed. It would have cost the Council nothing to share it. They had refused. They said humanity needed to develop its own medical capabilities. They said suffering built character. They said many things, all of them justifications for inaction. 12 million people died in 6 months. Among them was Marcus's daughter, Lily. She was 19 years old, studying xenobiology, dreaming of the stars. Marcus had held her hand as the fever consumed her, powerless to save her, while somewhere in the galaxy the cure sat unused in alien laboratories. That was the day Marcus Chen truly understood that humanity could not rely on the Council's mercy. That was the day he joined Project Silent Thunder. The transport ship carried Marcus back to Earth through faster-than-light corridors, a journey that took 3 days. He spent the time reviewing reports, analyzing Council behavior patterns, and preparing his briefing. By the time Earth's sun appeared in the viewport, he had composed himself completely. The shuttle descended not to any public spaceport but to an unmarked facility in the Australian outback. From the air, it looked like red desert. Beneath the sand lay humanity's greatest secret. The sanctuary was built 5 kilometers underground, protected by layers of rock, steel, and technology that made it invisible to any scanner in the galaxy. Marcus stepped into the vast command center and felt the familiar sense of purpose wash over him. Here, humanity's true work was being done. Director Sarah Okonkwo stood at the central display, a holographic representation of the solar system floating before her. She was 43 years old, brilliant, and utterly committed to humanity's survival. "Welcome back, Marcus. I watched the assembly session. Thexus was particularly cruel this time." "He was being Thexus," Marcus replied, joining her at the display. "Where's the general?" "Right here." General Lu Zhang emerged from the tactical operations room. He was 61, a veteran of Earth's last wars before unification, and the architect of humanity's secret military. "The Council denied us again, I assume?" "Of course. Which means we continue as planned." Sarah touched the display, and the hologram changed. Red dots appeared throughout the solar system, hidden among asteroids, tucked into lunar craters, orbiting in the shadows of gas giants. 250 red dots. 250 warships that the Galactic Council had no idea existed. "Project Silent Thunder is at full operational capacity," Sarah reported. "All vessels are crewed and ready. Our pilots have completed training in the simulation environments. Every system has been tested and retested." Marcus studied the display with satisfaction. For 50 years, humanity had been playing a careful game. They had accepted the Council's charity, their technology, their condescension. And while they smiled and bowed and pretended to be grateful students, humanity's best minds had been taking that technology apart, understanding it, and building something better. The warships floating in Earth's shadow were not copies of Council designs. They were evolution. Human engineers had identified every weakness in Council military technology and designed counters. Human physicists had pushed beyond the limitations of Council science. Human strategists had planned for scenarios the Council, in their arrogance, had never considered. "Show me the ecosystem," Marcus requested. General Lu manipulated the controls, and a new visualization appeared. This one showed a web of connections spreading across the galaxy, infiltrating every major computer network, every communication hub, every data center. It looked like a vast neural network, pulsing with activity. "The ecosystem has been in place for 30 years, Lu explained. It's our most sophisticated artificial intelligence, designed by Dr. Yuki Tanaka's team. It exists as countless fragments distributed across galactic networks, each piece too small to detect. But together, they form a complete consciousness that monitors everything." "Everything?" David Park asked, having joined them in the command center. "Everything," Sarah confirmed. "Every military communication, every trade agreement, every private message sent by Council members. We know their fleet movements before their own admirals receive orders. We understand their weapons capabilities better than their own engineers. We have access to information that would take them years to compile." Marcus walked closer to the display, watching the web pulse with stolen data. "And they have no idea?" "None," Lu said with grim satisfaction. "They believe we're primitive. They think our computer systems are decades behind theirs. They've never considered that we might be inside their networks, learning their secrets." Sarah pulled up another screen, this one showing technical specifications. "Our warships use phase-shift shielding, a technology the Council abandoned as theoretically impossible. Their weapons will pass through our shields like they're firing at ghosts. Our quantum disruptors can shut down any ship's systems without destroying the vessel. We can disable an entire fleet without killing a single being. That's important," Marcus emphasized. "When the time comes, we respond with precision, not brutality. We're not conquerors. We're defenders who have been pushed too far." "Speaking of being pushed," Lu said, his expression darkening. He brought up a new communication intercept. "Ecosystem flagged this transmission 6 hours ago. It's from the Council's Resource Management Committee to Supreme Chancellor Thexus." Marcus read the document, and cold anger spread through his chest. The Council had declared Earth's water reserves a critical resource needed for terraforming projects in the Andromeda sector. They were planning an extraction operation. 90% of Earth's ocean water would be removed and transported across the galaxy. "They're planning to drain our oceans," Sarah whispered, her voice shaking. "The environmental impact would be catastrophic," David added. "Earth would become a desert world. Billions would die." Marcus continued reading. The document was clinically detached, discussing humanity as if they were insects inhabiting a resource depot. The Council had calculated that Earth's population could be reduced to 500 million essential workers who would be relocated to underground facilities while the extraction occurred. When? Marcus asked quietly. The extraction fleet departs in 2 weeks, Lou reported. 800 vessels, including the Krillian Dominion's heavy mining platforms. Expected arrival at Earth in 6 months. The command center was silent. 50 years of preparation had been building toward some eventual confrontation, but Marcus had hoped it would be on humanity's terms. Now the Council was forcing the issue. They're not even pretending to ask permission, Sarah said. They're just taking what they want. Marcus looked at the faces around him. These were people who had dedicated their lives to a project they thought might never be needed. They had hoped that humanity could find a peaceful path to respect and equality. But the Council had made that impossible. Activate the warning protocols, Marcus ordered. Begin moving our population to the underground shelter cities. Make it look like we're preparing for a natural disaster. The Council monitors our communications, so we need to be careful about what we say publicly. What about our fleet? General Lou asked. Marcus studied the display showing 250 hidden warships, 50 years of secret work, and the hopes of an entire species. Keep them in position. Maintain stealth protocols. When the Council fleet arrives, they need to believe we're helpless. They need to think their intelligence is correct, that we have no defense, that we'll simply surrender. And then? David asked. Marcus Chen allowed himself a small, cold smile. Then we teach the Galactic Council what happens when you mistake patience for weakness. Then we show them what humanity has been building while they laughed at us. He turned back to the hologram of Earth, beautiful and blue, home to 11 billion souls who had no idea how close they were to annihilation. But they wouldn't be annihilated. Not while humanity's silent thunder waited in the darkness. 6 months, Marcus said. We have 6 months to finalize everything. When the Council arrives to steal our oceans and reduce our population, they're going to find something they never expected. What's that? Sarah asked. Humanity, Marcus replied. Not the version they think they know. The real version. The version that has been preparing for this exact moment since the day they let 12 million people die from a plague they could have cured. The version that never forgets an insult and never forgives a betrayal. In the darkness of space, 800 Council vessels prepared for what they believed would be a simple resource extraction. In the shadows of Earth's solar system, 250 human warships waited in silence, their crews ready, their weapons charged, their purpose clear. The Council had mistaken silence for acceptance. They had mistaken patience for submission. They had mistaken humanity's desire for peace as an inability to wage war. In 6 months, they would learn the truth. And the galaxy would never be the same. The thunder breaks. 6 months passed like a held breath. On Earth, the surface appeared calm. Cities continued their daily rhythms. People went to work, children attended schools, and life maintained its familiar patterns. But beneath the surface, humanity was preparing for war. The underground shelter cities, built secretly over 3 decades, now housed 7 billion people. The transition had been explained as a global disaster preparedness drill, something the Council would expect from a species they considered paranoid and primitive. The Council's surveillance satellites watched Earth's surface and saw exactly what they expected to see, a disorganized species scrambling in confusion. They had no idea that beneath their sensors, humanity was anything but confused. Ambassador Marcus Chen stood in the sanctuary's command center, watching the main display as 800 Council vessels emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. The fleet was massive, a show of overwhelming force meant to crush any thought of resistance. Mining platforms the size of small moons drifted among warships bristling with weapons. Transport vessels waited to carry away 90% of Earth's water. They're right on schedule, General Lu Zhang observed, his voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were witnessing. Ecosystem confirms fleet composition, 300 Krillian warships, 200 Sardothian escorts, 100 Vexcar heavy destroyers, and 200 support vessels. Director Sarah Okonkwo worked at her station, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. All of our ships report ready status. Phase shift shields are calibrated. Quantum disruptors are charged. Ecosystem is in position to execute network infiltration on your command. Marcus nodded slowly. 25 years of humiliation had led to this moment. 50 years of secret preparation were about to be tested. The lives of 11 billion people rested on decisions made in the next few hours. The communication array chimed. Incoming broadcast from the Council fleet, the communications officer announced. It's being transmitted on all frequencies, including to the Galactic Network. They want everyone to watch this. Put it on screen, Marcus ordered. Admiral Zexthor appeared on the display. He was a Krillian like Supreme Chancellor Thexus, his copper skin marked with military decorations that chronicled 4,000 years of service. His eyes held the absolute certainty of someone who had never lost a battle. "Attention, human population of Earth," Zexthor's voice boomed. "The Galactic Council has designated your planet's water reserves as essential resources required for sanctioned terraforming operations. Under Council Regulation 749, we are authorized to extract these resources for the greater good of galactic civilization." On Earth's surface, the few remaining people stopped what they were doing to watch screens in public squares. Across the galaxy, billions of beings tuned in to watch humanity's final humiliation. "Your cooperation is mandatory," Zexthor continued. 90% of your ocean water will be removed over the next standard year. Your population will be reduced to sustainable levels and relocated to designated underground facilities. Resistance is futile and will be met with necessary force. You have 48 hours to broadcast your compliance. The transmission ended. Across the Sanctuary's command center, humanity's military leaders looked to Marcus Chen. "They're giving us 2 days to surrender," David Park said, his voice tight with anger. 2 days to accept the death of our world." Marcus was quiet for a long moment, staring at the display showing the Council fleet positioning itself around Earth like a predator circling prey. He thought of his daughter Lily, dead because the Council couldn't be bothered to share a cure. He thought of 25 years of insults, of being called children and primitives, of watching other species laugh at humanity's pain. "Open a channel," Marcus said quietly. "Broadcast to the Council fleet and to the entire galactic network. I want every species in the galaxy to see this." The communications officer worked quickly. "Channel open, sir. You're transmitting to approximately 40 billion viewers across 800 species." Marcus Chen straightened his uniform and faced the camera. When he spoke, his voice was calm, almost conversational, but it carried the weight of 50 years of preparation. "Admiral Zexthor, members of the Galactic Council, and all who are watching across the galaxy. My name is Ambassador Marcus Chen, and I speak for humanity. For 50 years, we have stood before the Council as petitioners. We have asked for recognition, for respect, for basic rights. For 50 years, we have been denied. We have been mocked. We have been called primitives, children, and vermin." He paused, letting his words sink in across light years of space. "Today, you have come to our home not as partners or even as overlords, but as thieves. You plan to steal 90% of our water, destroy our ecosystem, and reduce our population to manageable levels. You have given us 48 hours to accept our own destruction." Marcus leaned forward slightly, and something cold entered his eyes. "I am here to inform you that humanity declines your offer." Admiral Zexthor's face appeared in a split screen, his expression showing amusement. "Ambassador Chen, you misunderstand. This is not a negotiation. You have no military capability to resist. Your planet has perhaps a dozen orbital defense platforms that our fleet could destroy in minutes. Accept reality." "Reality," Marcus repeated softly. "Let me show you reality. General Liu, activate Project Silent Thunder." Throughout the solar system, 250 human warships received the signal. Advanced stealth technology that had kept them hidden for decades powered down. Phase shift drives brought them from their dimensional hiding places into normal space. In an instant, the tactical situation changed completely. The Council fleet found itself surrounded. Human warships appeared from behind asteroids, emerged from the shadows of moons, and materialized from seemingly empty space. They formed a perfect sphere around the Council vessels, every gun pointed inward. The Sanctuary's command center erupted in controlled activity. Sarah called out status reports. "All vessels deployed successfully. Formation Alpha is established. Ecosystem is infiltrating Council networks now." On the main screen, Admiral Zexthor's amusement had vanished, replaced by shock. "Impossible. Our sensors showed nothing. Where did these ships come from?" "From 50 years of silence," Marcus replied. "While you laughed at us, we were learning. While you called us primitive, we were building. While you planned our destruction, we were preparing our defense." He gestured, and technical specifications appeared on screens throughout the galaxy. "Our warships utilize phase shift technology that you dismissed as theoretically impossible. Our weapons operate on principles your scientists haven't discovered. Our shields exist in dimensional states your sensors cannot detect. For 50 years, we have taken your technology, understood it, and surpassed it." General Liu spoke into his tactical command unit. "All ships, demonstrate Horizon Protocol on my mark. Target non-critical systems only. Fire." 250 human warships fired simultaneously. Not with explosive weapons or energy beams, but with quantum disruptors that transmitted through dimensional barriers. The effect was immediate and surgical. Throughout the Council fleet, weapon systems went offline. Shields flickered and failed. Engine controls froze. Navigation computers crashed. In 3 seconds, 800 warships became 800 floating metal shells, completely disabled but with their crews unharmed. Admiral Zexthor's flagship was dark. Emergency lighting cast his face in red shadows. "What have you done?" "We've removed your ability to harm us," Marcus explained calmly. "Your crews are safe. Your ships are intact. But your weapons are offline, and they will remain offline. Additionally, our ecosystem has infiltrated every computer network in your fleet. We have access to every file, every communication, and every control system." Sarah pulled up data streams on her display. "We're receiving everything. Fleet deployment orders, resource extraction schedules, and here's something interesting, internal communications showing the Council knew this operation would kill approximately 6 billion humans. They discussed it and decided the loss was acceptable." Marcus felt cold fury rise in his chest, but his voice remained steady. "Broadcast that data to the Galactic Network. Let every species see what the Council planned for us." Across the galaxy, billions watched as classified documents appeared on public networks. The Council's own words condemned them. They had calculated human deaths like accounting errors. They had discussed population reduction strategies with clinical detachment. They had never considered asking humanity's permission because they had never considered humanity worthy of being asked. The Galactic Network exploded with reactions. Species that had suffered under Council authority for millions of years suddenly saw themselves in humanity's position. Questions erupted. Protests began. The Council's carefully maintained image of benevolent leadership cracked. "Incoming transmission," the communications officer announced. "Supreme Chancellor Thexus is calling from the Council chambers." "Put him through," Marcus ordered. Thexus appeared on screen, and for the first time in 25 years, Marcus saw uncertainty in those ancient eyes. "Ambassador Chen, this situation has escalated beyond acceptable parameters. We are willing to negotiate." "Negotiate?" Marcus laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. "For 50 years, we tried to negotiate. You laughed at us. You denied us rights. You let 12 million of my people die from a plague you could have cured because you thought suffering would build our character. And now you come to steal our water and kill billions more." He stood, his full height seeming to fill the screen. "No, Chancellor. The time for negotiation passed when your fleet entered our solar system with weapons ready. Now we dictate terms." Thexus's copper skin darkened with anger. "You dare threaten the Galactic Council? We command fleets across 1,000 systems. We could crush you." "Could you?" Sarah interjected, pulling up new displays. "Ecosystem has been inside your networks for 30 years, Chancellor. We know the location of every Council military vessel. We know your defensive capabilities. We know your supply lines. And we've already infiltrated the computer systems of your home fleets just as thoroughly as we've infiltrated Admiral Zexthor's ships." General Liu added, "We could disable every Council warship in the galaxy within 1 hour. We could shut down your planetary defenses, your communications networks, your infrastructure. We haven't done so because we're not conquerors. But don't mistake mercy for weakness." Marcus leaned forward. "Here are humanity's terms. 1. Earth receives full Council membership immediately, with all rights and privileges. 2. The Council pays reparations for the 12 million people who died in the plague you refused to help cure. 3. The Council establishes new regulations prohibiting resource extraction from inhabited worlds without explicit consent. 4. Species classified as provisional or observer status receive the right to petition for rapid membership review." "Impossible," Thexus sputtered. "The Council has operated under established protocols for millions of years. We cannot simply." "You can," Marcus interrupted. "And you will. Because right now, 300 species are watching this broadcast. They're seeing their own potential futures in what you plan for Earth. They're asking why they should accept Council authority when the Council treats them as resources instead of citizens." As if on cue, the communications board lit up with incoming transmissions. The communications officer's eyes widened. "Sir, we're receiving messages from 47 different species. They're expressing support for humanity's position. Several are formally protesting Council actions. And the Tellurian Alliance just announced they're suspending their Council membership until reforms are implemented." The galactic order that had stood for millions of years was cracking. Not because humanity had destroyed anything, but because humanity had exposed the truth. The Council's power rested on the belief that they were benevolent protectors. That illusion was shattering in real time. Thexus was silent for a long moment. Marcus could see calculations running behind those ancient eyes, weighing options, considering outcomes. Finally, the Supreme Chancellor spoke, and his voice had lost its arrogant edge. Ambassador Chen, the Council requires time to consider your terms. You have 24 hours, Marcus replied. Admiral Zexthor's fleet will remain disabled but unharmed in Earth orbit. If you attempt to send reinforcements, they will arrive to find themselves similarly disabled. If you accept our terms, we will release your ships and begin the process of rebuilding galactic governance on foundations of mutual respect instead of fear. He paused, then added more softly, we don't want war, Chancellor. We never did. We wanted recognition. We wanted dignity. We wanted the galaxy to treat us as equals instead of resources. You could have given us that 50 years ago. You could have saved 12 million lives 15 years ago. You chose arrogance instead. Now you'll choose wisdom, or you'll watch the council you've built crumble. The transmission ended. The command center was quiet except for the soft hum of computers and the breathing of people who had just changed galactic history. David Park broke the silence. Sir, what if they don't accept? What if they try to fight? Marcus walked to the viewport that showed Earth below, blue and beautiful and whole. Then we fight. But they won't. They're administrators, not warriors. They've ruled through the threat of force for so long that they've forgotten what happens when someone calls their bluff. Sarah joined him at the viewport. 50 years. Was it worth it? Marcus thought of his daughter, of the 12 million dead, of 25 years standing on the petitioner's platform while species that measured their lives in millennia called humans children. Every day of silence. Every insult we swallowed. Every moment we waited while people called us weak. Yes. It was worth it. 23 hours later, Supreme Chancellor Thexus broadcast his response to the galaxy. The Galactic Council accepted humanity's terms in full. Earth would receive immediate full membership. Reparations would be paid. New protections for developing species would be established. A new era of galactic cooperation would begin, built on foundations of respect rather than domination. The Council's extraction fleet departed Earth orbit with their weapons still disabled, a final reminder of humanity's capabilities. As they left, the 250 human warships remained visible, no longer hiding, sending a clear message: humanity had found its voice, and that voice carried thunder. 1 year later, Ambassador Marcus Chen sat not on the petitioner's platform but at the Council's central table, speaking with the authority of full membership. The chamber that had once echoed with laughter at human weakness now listened in respectful silence when Earth's representative spoke. After the session, Marcus visited a memorial built in Earth's Pacific region. 12 million names were carved in stone, including one that he touched gently with his fingers, Lily Chen. We found our voice, he whispered to his daughter's memory. We made them listen. And we did it without becoming the monsters they feared we might be. Sarah found him there as sunset painted the ocean gold. The Tellurian ambassador wants to meet. 17 other species have applied for council membership using our petition as a template. They're calling it the Chen Doctrine, peace through strength, silence through preparation. Marcus smiled, watching the sun descend toward waters that would remain on Earth, that would continue nurturing life, that the council had tried to steal. Good. Maybe now the galaxy will learn that silence doesn't mean acceptance. Sometimes it just means someone is waiting for the right moment to speak. And across the galaxy, on 1,000 worlds, species that had lived under the Council's shadow for millions of years looked at what humanity had accomplished and began to wonder, if humanity could find its voice after 50 years of silence, what might they find after millennia? The thunder had broken. The silence had ended. And the galaxy would never be the same.